I went to the open public schools, didn't learn shit, you know what I mean? Came out and all I knew is that I was pissed off at all the conditions that everybody was facing, everybody from elementary all the way to high school. So, you know, by many terms of, you know, lifestyles and being around a lot of people, I ended up meeting a lot of these OGs that people only get to read about. You know, got to build with folks from, you know, from the BLA, from the Black Panther Party, for self-defense, from folks from AIM, from, you know, folks from the Brown Berets, and that was my education. You know what I mean? I wasn't a college-educated person. That was my college right there. Those people. You know what I mean? Like living with them, struggling with them, having conversations. You know what I'm saying? Just like with these brothers. You know what I'm saying? Half an hour with these brothers is worth like 6 semesters in our school. Straight up.
We'll talk.
And you know, and like, so for me, it's like it changed my worldview to the point that I wasn't looking for that validation. And it gave, and I was already, you know, interested in art, doing my thing in the streets and all that, but it gave me that sense of responsibility. Like, these dudes gave up their lives, their families. So much stuff that went down, you know, with COINTELPRO and just like a lot of people having their communities turn their back on them. It's like, I gotta do something. If this is what I can give, this is what I'm gonna do, because I have to pay those dues to them. You know what I mean? This is people who are still alive. You know, we read about them, they get fantasized, and you know, it's like this non-tangible group of people, but they're here. They're like living in our communities, like broke. Nobody's taking care of them. They're elders now. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's our livelihoods right there. You know what I'm saying? So I have like this big responsibility, not a burden, it's a responsibility. And you know, I take a lot of joy and pride in doing these things to at least bring some like glimmer of hope in their eyes that everything that they did wasn't forgotten, wasn't in vain. And I'm trying to pass that down to like the young people, that the art that they do is like a power. So with that power, you're gonna have some sort of responsibility to the masses. Never mind yourself, which was like taking that car, you're driving like 80 miles per hour, and then you crank it in reverse. It was like mind-boggling, right? Because graffiti and art itself is about, you know what I mean, to a certain degree, it's about fame, it's about self. But when you turn that inside out and you make it about the masses and you make it about the people, you know, there's a little bit conflicting ideas, but at the end of the day, one of those dogs got to come out on top. And that's the way I see it, and that's the way I try to explain to the youth I work with, that if you got that talent, that's a gift, it's our responsibility to share it with the masses, you know what I mean?
Can you talk a little bit about some of the imagery you were working on this weekend at the AeroSoul group mural we were doing in Oakland?
Oh, so I was working with Crash and Amanda, and we just wanted to represent cultures, right? But the thing is that white, like Western culture tries to like portray us as like this monolithic people, you know, for Africans, for Asians, and for people from the Americas. Like we just, oh, you know, y'all just wear feathers, and you guys got beads, and you guys, you know, just cook in my kitchen, right? But for us, it's like, you know, how can we express unity, you know what I mean? So we have like some pieces in pretty muted colors, and then in the background it's a snake with no tail, so there's two heads to it, and instead of regular snake heads, it's an eagle on one side, and there's a condor on the other side, and that represents unity from peoples on the north of the continent, and then the south, like the southern part of the continent, and then out of it is like a person with a ski mask, because the people in Mexico, South Mexico, and Central America, they use that to cover their faces, not because they're afraid of political violence, because they believe that we've been faceless and we've been ostracized by the system for so long that our faces don't matter. What matters is the message that we bring about. And in the North, I have folks, and I'm part of like a larger society, that's what they do too. In Canada, they're fighting for the same thing, land, and to be able to stand in their own territory. So that's what they do. They mask up. You know, our identities are irrelevant. It's the struggle and the messages that we bring that matter. So it's kind of bringing that. So that's why the characters are masked up in the pieces I painted.